So again, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm just gonna give word to Vitalik. Hi Vitalik, super nice to have you here again. And we're very happy that you are joining us this time online after visiting us in December. I'm trying to understand where the camera is. Is it there? Is it there? Anyways, super excited about Vitalik. This is very important conversation on the ACC. He's gonna explain what all of this is about. And let's try to think about this as some sort of reply to the questions Dolo raised and why are we here in the first place. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vitalik. I'll leave you to enjoy his talk.
Yes. Hold on. Let me just try to get my slides out. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, there we go. Share. Okay, perfect. Are we seeing it well? Amazing. So, first of all, just good morning to everyone at Crecimiento. Good to see all of you guys again. I definitely remember the venue room quite well. I'm looking forward to coming back in November as when we're going to have our Dev Connect in Buenos Aires. Right. I guess happy to talk about DIAC for you guys online right now. So I think so first of all, in the 21st century, we're in this very interesting time, right? So we have a lot of technologies, and these technologies have a really large positive potential in pretty much every single aspect of our life, right? So we have hyper-efficient mass communication, and that technology is making it possible for all of us to be talking to each other right now. It's creating this global village. AI is creating a massive speed up in progress in every single field. It's making it more efficient to code. It's making it more efficient to write things. For biotech, I think the big prize to me is curing all disease and living forever. And I've been excited about this for basically since I read Aubrey de Grey's book as a child, and I think it is actually possible. And I think if you think about the kind of progress computers have had between the very first ones in the 1940s and computers today, you can think about the kind of progress that biotech will have over the next century. But then we also have synthetic biology and the potential for example, creating crops that can be much more robust and can have much stronger guarantees that everyone will always have food and everyone will always have the best and the healthiest food. Brain-computer interfaces offering better ability for people to interact with computers and even through computers into better interact with and understand each other at a much higher level of depth than is possible with existing visual media and language. So there's a huge amount of potential, right? But at the same time, these technologies all have risks, right? And I think there's basically two types of risks in each one of these categories, right? Basically, in each one of these categories, there's a risk that comes from centralization, and there's a risk that just comes from the technology itself, and people using it to cause harm, right? So And I think the usual terminology for this is like unipolar traps and multipolar traps, right? So either one actor uses the technology to oppress everyone else, or everyone uses the technology to attract each other. And these are both issues that we really have to do our best to try to prevent, right? And so for mass communication, we've seen manipulation by platforms, we've seen the huge amount of political power that gets centralized into whoever controls social media platform. We've seen the global info war, like it's becoming more and more obvious that everything that we see on the internet is content that is manipulated and engineered by all kinds of actors that are motivated by wanting us to believe or feel a particular thing. With AI, so AI-driven totalitarianism, it's something that I worry about. There are already many instances in Russia, in Iran, in many places of people using like just cameras to be able to really efficiently detect when anyone is participating in a protest and be able for governments to be able to go after any kind of dissent extremely efficiently. And then also doom, right? So basically the possibility that once AI really goes super intelligent, then would the AI even end up being aligned with the goals of humanity? And if not, then like humans basically lose any leverage we even have to make sure that we're treated while we're continuing to survive in that world. And then on the biotech side, right, we're excited about brain-computer interfaces, but then how many of us would be excited about brain-computer interfaces where Mark Zuckerberg can read your mind, right? So, this is these are the risks, right? And the positive potential of technology is just like really amazing, right? So we have rockets going to Mars, we have like potentially really beautiful solar punk garden cities, bringing back woolly mammoths, robots in every home. But then, like, there are these risks that are worth watching out for, right? And so, one interesting question that you can try to ask is basically that if you got into Ethereum, then chances are that you value certain things, right? So chances are you value freedom, open source, cooperation, decentralization, and making all of these ideals actually work for people and actually get able to create a functional civilization that helps people organize and that helps people build wealth, as opposed to, like, say, helping people get $1.5 billion of their money hacked by North Korea, right? And so, if one question that you could ask is, if you have these kinds of underlying values, then what is a philosophy that you would have that could approach some of these other questions in technology more generally, right? So what we're not saying is oh, you believe in Ethereum, therefore let's put Ethereum into everything. Let's put carbon credits on the blockchain, right? We're not saying that. We're saying if you start from the underlying values, the kinds of values that would get people to want to support something like Ethereum, then what would that imply in other technological areas? So also, I think if you're in crypto, you understand that centralized security is a source of risk, right? So we know about FTX, we know about Mt. Gox. This is a fun thing that happened in the US last year. Basically, yeah. So US telecom companies are legally mandated to collect a bunch of like wiretap data and store it. And then this is theoretically there for law enforcement use, and the US government is good, and so they only use this data to make sure that the criminals are not doing criminal things. But what happened to the data? Of course, it got hacked and stolen by China. And I mean, within China itself, you have the same problem. Like there are instances of data record, like hundreds of millions of identity records in China that themselves get hacked by other people. So centralization is actually not a solution to security, or at least if it is, it's an extremely fragile one, right? And so what would it look like if we tried to take the values of that I talked about and try to construct a philosophy of technology more generally? So the idea behind DEAC is decentralized democratic defense favoring technology. So basically the idea is that we create technologies that try to improve and democratize human capability and work hard to minimize the risks in a way that maximally avoids enshrining centralized power. So I think if you read this sentence, you can see how crypto is perfectly exactly this type of thing, right? And so we could ask the question, well, what other technologies are also this type of thing? And so I have this chart that I came up with, right? And this is actually the second version of a chart, but basically what we can do is you can look at the world of atoms and the world of bits. And then within the world of atoms, you can look at small scale things. So small scale physical defense basically means bio defense. You can look at large scale physical resilience. And then in the world of bits, you can look at cyber defense. So protecting computers, protecting computer algorithms. A lot of cryptography and blockchains falls into this. You can also look at what I call info defense, which is basically how do you even know what is true and what is false on the internet in a way that does not enshrine one specific group of people as the arbiters of what is true and false for everyone. And so I've talked about community notes as a technology like this. I've talked about the prediction markets as a technology in this category. So there's a lot of, and then obviously within cyber defense, there's like a huge amount of things that you can do, right? And one of the interesting things about this chart is that the technologies that could help protect us from the bad possible futures are actually very closely connected to the technologies that can bring the good futures. And we could give some even particular examples, right? So, for example, a lot of the research that's been done around long COVID recently, it identifies viral persistence, so like viruses staying in your body for a long time as a primary cause of long COVID. And then a lot of that research actually like carries forward into research on longevity. Why? Because a lot of the diseases that kill us in our old age, it turns out that there is a strong case that they're caused by viral persistence as well. Then medical imaging technology that can detect when we have diseases, that same technology can be used for BCIs. Then if you think about info defense, things like community nodes, things like prediction markets, technologies that can help us not be deceived in environments that are hostile. Very similar technologies can be collaboration technologies. They can help organizations that are already in reasonably high trust environments have access to better forms of governance. So now the question is, well, which of these are most directly relevant to Ethereum, right? And to me, like this is all connected, right? And actually, there's pretty fascinating connections between all of these things. Like, for example, if you want to do bio defense or like even bio longevity well, you need data. And to collect data, people want to be sure that their data is not going to be abused. And so for that, you need cyber defense, you need secure software and hardware, right? But we can still ask the question, well, which of these things relate to Ethereum the most directly? And I think the answer basically is the entire world of bits side of this cube, right? So cyber defense, obviously, and so not your operating system, not your coins, not your hardware, not your coins. The problem of account management and the problem of crypto wallet management are the same problem. Then info defense, the problem of protecting against like misinformation and scams for political reasons is connected to the problem of protecting people against scam applications that are trying to get you to click the wrong button and steal all of your ETH. Then open decentralized compute, giving people access to software and hardware, making operating systems more open. Like these are all things that are highly relevant to Ethereum applications, and even collaboration technology, right? And I think we can like briefly go into like some of these examples, right? So if you think about direct Ethereum use cases, right? So crypto wallets, to me, crypto wallets are a subset of this more general problem of how to do authentication. Like basically how to make sure that you are you, or how to make sure that the thing that claims to be you that's accessing the blockchain actually is you. And that's a problem that's extremely high value for crypto users. AI possibly can actually be part of the solution. Then securing the supply chain, right? So every single part of the stuff that you need to access Ethereum. So dApp interfaces, Ethereum clients, the operating system, hardware, all of this can be secured to a much greater extent. And a big one is community coordination, right? The Ethereum ecosystem needs to make hard decisions. And one of the challenges is that so far we make a lot of these decisions sort of de facto on Twitter. And the problem is that, as we know, Twitter is not a secure governance discussion forum, right? And so if we can solve like all of these DEC-related problems, then like there are direct use cases of this inside of Ethereum. And then there is a pathway to solving these problems in Ethereum, and then using that as a springboard, jumping off from there and creating something that can solve those problems more broadly. So what value does Ethereum bring to DEC, right? I think three things. One is a community building the tech. We have people who are passionate about all forms of decentralization. Two is a source of funding, right? So both people who have funding who are interested in these things and funding mechanisms. So retro funding, quadratic funding, deep funding, and so on. And then three is, as we've mentioned, early testbed use cases, right? And so to me, like DEC is this umbrella idea that Ethereum is a part of, and that I think covers a lot of what the like. If you're the kind of person that would get into Ethereum, like things that you would want to see happen in technology in the wider world, right? And I think this is an opportunity to really create much more collaboration between everything that's happening in Ethereum on one side, and on the other side, all of these like much broader and really valuable other things that are happening and can happen in technology over the next decade. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vitalik. And we are opening the floor for questions, if that's okay. I don't know if you want to stop the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You're back again. So, does anyone? Are there any questions for Vitalik? Please raise your hand. In the meantime, as you think, I wanted to ask if you think there are like some negative aspects in which AI is relevant to Ethereum.
Negative, so like risks that AI brings to Ethereum. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think a couple of examples. So one is I think AI is significantly breaking social media, and I think because Ethereum is such an online global community, Ethereum's ability to coordinate effectively depends on having a good social layer, and so AI risking that is obviously a problem. Another is, I think, at some point we'll get to the point of having AI, which is very good at finding bugs and everything. And in the long term, that's actually good for defense because, like, if you have AI that finds all the bugs, then the people who write the software will be able to use that AI first, and we can have code that doesn't have bugs. But in the short term, lots of existing stuff is going to break, probably including Ethereum software, including dependencies in Ethereum software. And so that's also a concern. So I think I would probably start with those two. And then in general, I mean, obviously, I think like AI could empower very centralized actors, and that's something where like there might even be an opportunity for Ethereum to like create governance structures to make more decentralized versions of AI be more effective, but that's something where we actually have to go and build that technology in those platforms.
How do you see that happening? Like Ethereum getting into governmental structures for it to be more decentralized before it's too late, maybe?
Yes. So I think, okay, so in Ethereum, we've been interested in DAOs for a long time, right? And I think we all roughly understand what was the spirit behind DAOs. Like we create these decentralized on-chain structures that could be used to manage all kinds of different protocols. But then what we've seen with DAOs in practice is that like they depend on voting and people are too lazy to vote. And so they're either ineffective or they're centralized, right? And I think AI could potentially fix that, right? And I think DAOs within Ethereum could actually be a perfect test bed for us to try to understand and demonstrate what would DAOs running an organization actually look like in the best possible implementation. And then if that succeeds in Ethereum, I think it can succeed in other contexts as well.
Okay, thank you. Questions? There? No? Here. Ah, okay.
Hi, Vitalik, it's Tahir. Just a quick question. What is your view on using blockchain to tether AI? So in essence, you're getting AI to be transparent using blockchain. So everything that it does, right down to having a backdoor, so if it ever goes rogue, at least we can see it on chain and go, you know, it's being, you know, it's doing something naughty and we need to stop it.
Right. That's challenging, right? Because like the challenge is basically, like what can you actually be? If you force the AI to record all of its actions, then like one, you know, will we as humans actually be able to understand everything that's going on? Is that something, a restriction that the AI itself would find some way to remove? Like it's, you know, like that kind of tethering by itself, like it, I don't know, to me intuitively, it feels like the sort of thing that could be difficult. I think, I mean, the things that I've been thinking of so far are in the directions of like using on-chain structures to try to create incentives for AI, but in general, trying to like reduce the need for AIs to even have sort of very long-running forms of agency. But I mean, that's obviously a difficult thing to accomplish as well.
Okay, thank you. You want to ask another question? It's okay. Anyone else? Do we have? Here.
What do you think about prediction markets and their role in DAOs? Are they going to be useful, or is probably a more concentrated decision making? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I wrote about this in my recent blog post, right? I mean, I think using futurarchy for the decision markets could be really cool, and I think we should try. I mean, I know there have been experiments trying to figure things like that out already. I think we should run the experiment and see what happens.
Okay, another question.
Yeah, my question is, how important do you think is it to work with governments to ensure the control of AI or those kind of risk? And if not governments, which actors, who have the leverage to ensure that security?
Yeah, and I think governments are this like challenging double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, if to the extent that a solution to the risks of AI involves regulating the most risky aspects, like governments would be the ones that are doing the regulating. The risks are that there's a long history of that regulation being done in a way that like exempts like basically military and national security critical actors by default, but those are exactly the actors that are often the largest source of risk, right? And so I think like that's one of the challenges that we want to navigate. I think probably, the best thing that we'd want to try to do is like identify strategies for safer AI that don't involve this idea of like, oh, you know, like we should do it first because we are the good guys and like not let other people do it because they're the bad guys. And because that is something that a lot of people gravitate toward by default. But the challenge is that if you do that, then like that just creates a race between different countries that all feel that way. So I think it's just a challenging problem.
Okay, here. Thank you, Vitalik.
Hello. As a builder, what do you think it's more interesting to focus on? To build the next DeFi complex mathematical thing, or to focus on AI research and see what we can get out of this technology? Because I've been of that conundrum, but I don't know what.
And I think like you should keep an open mind, and if you find a particular thing that you're passionate about, like a particular solution in either of those areas, you should go for it, right? Because like DeFi is great, but on the other hand, we have a lot of different DeFi protocols, and you want to really ask the question, are you offering something that's really important that does not exist already? And with AI, it's the same thing, right? Like this, like there's this whole sequence of AI companies that have formed because people were unhappy with the previous AI company, right? So first, you have DeepMind, and then OpenAI formed because Elon was unhappy about DeepMind being too proprietary, and then Anthropic happened because they were unhappy about OpenAI not like being unsafe, and then SSI happened, and so you just have this like constant like spiral of new AI companies that then start competing with each other, and so like I think in both spaces it's the same thing, right? Like I think you want to really ask the question and make sure. Like, can you identify a particular thing where you're sure that it's like actually going to solve problems and making things better, as opposed to just being part of the same loop as everyone else?
Okay, thank you. One more. Do we have time for one more question?
One more.
One more. Nobody? Okay, I'm gonna ask.
Expectations for DevCon.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same. The obvious question. Okay, we will have DevConnect in November here. So what are your thoughts on that? You've been in Argentina many times, and you're gonna be here, I think, of course.
Yep.
And so what are you expecting? We have met Nathan here, and he's already in preparation. So I want to know your take.
Yeah, I think DevConnect will be great. I think it will be a great opportunity to really solidify a lot of the community building energy that we've seen for the last 5 years in really like 10 years in Argentina, and actually get like really show what are the things that have been done so far, and set things up on a trajectory where we can have even more interesting applications in all kinds of spaces, individual, institutional, financial, non-financial, everything in Argentina and in Latin America in general. So really excited to see that, and also just really excited to see many thousands of amazing and very talented Ethereum builders that I'm sure will be coming together this year.
Okay, can you hear me? No. I have a problem with the mic. Okay, well, let's round it up saying thank you. There we are. Can you hear me now? Okay. There's a problem with the microphone, but well, we are ending. So thank you, Vitalik, for your time. Thank you, everyone in the audience. Thank you for being here, for your talk.
Thank you, guys.
And see you in November.